Fagella here, and in this CLV Boost tutorial, I'm going to be using a little bit of a whiteboard as opposed to my normal slide approach when I create these videos, because I want to map something out. The topic of the day being the virtuous cycle of SEO and email marketing. We're going to initially begin with how to allow your SEO strategy to sort of craft your email acquisition and essentially your lead acquisition strategy, and end it out with a little bit of how your email marketing and segmentation thereof can actually help boost your SEO results as well. So we'll dive right in. I'm going to use the example of CLV Boost as a business here for how SEO and email can play back and forth for two reasons. Number one, most of you are at least somewhat familiar with our own business and what it is that we do, so you'll be able to understand what we're up to, no matter what industry or particular business you're from. And number two, because I know it rather well, and so I understand the keywords and can speak at length rather than completely just pulling out random keywords if we were going to use a business selling horseshoes or something relatively obscure. So anywho, we'll begin with the steps that we'll go into in terms of essentially allowing our SEO to generate more and better leads, and then permitting our email marketing to actually help bolster our SEO. I've broken this down into 4 steps, and I'll walk you all through them. Essentially, first and foremost, we want to get an understanding of our search terms specific to our offerings. Now, let me explain what this means. This is sometimes referred to, or we might call these, okay, our PPC terms, our pay-per-click terms. Now, these are terms you also might want to rank well for in search engine optimization as well. So for CLV Boost as a consultancy, a very direct term, these are terms that really have to do with buying intent. These are people who, if you type this into the search engine, you are essentially looking to purchase, or you at least have a strong inclination in that direction. One example might be, email marketing consultants Boston. Jeepers, that's a good term. I mean, if you're looking for somebody locally, that probably means you're in sort of a buying decision mode. So that might be a good one for someone along my lines, or for a business like CLV Boost. This might be a great term that we could actually use in our paid advertising, whether it be Google or Facebook or what have you, in order to make sure that we could draw folks in. Another term that might pan out halfway well in terms of marketing automation might be something along the lines of Infusionsoft consultants, experienced Infusionsoft consultant. That might be a term that would be worth paid advertising for CLV Boost, being a marketing automation, email marketing business. Something along the lines of marketing automation agency. If you're looking for an agency, that means you're looking for somebody who's going to provide a service. By golly, if you type that into Google, I probably want to get you. Whether it's on the right-hand side, I'm doing advertising, or whether I want to rank directly for those terms. If you do land on a page specifically for marketing automation agency, I'm going to make sure that there's some kind of a direct web form where you can get in touch. If you are actually looking for someone to do the service for you, I'm going to make sure that that is, in fact, the case. However, these terms are not going to be our direct focus right now. These are going to be, I want to come up with a good enough clump of these, and I would encourage you to do the same thing for your business, but this clump is going to be the terms that we essentially spin off of to determine number 2, which is our relevant but indirect interest terms. These would be top of the funnel terms if you listen to the terminology of companies like HubSpot, who are very, very good at drawing search engine leads for very, very specific terms, okay? So our indirect interest, or top of the funnel type of search terms, are not going to be something that explicitly has to do with buying or purchasing a product or service. These will be terms that in general would not be a winner if you were going to run, let's say, paid advertising, pay-per-click advertising for. An example herein might be how to make a better email newsletter. Somebody's typing that in. I mean, for all I know, they just started a business, or they have a little newsletter among their friends, or maybe they're just sort of Googling and exploring the ideas. It may not make sense to really solicit those folks for a particular offer, to buy, to purchase a service, to call someone at our company on the phone, but they might be someone that's in the market, someone somewhat interested in, and instead of asking them to buy, we could likely get them to solicit an email address if we had some fantastic content for them. So we're going to talk about how that all ties together in a second. Other terms that might work out well for CLV Boost, if I spin off, email marketing consultants, Boston, or marketing automation agency, like how to set up Infusionsoft. This might be somebody that's gotten into Infusion. Maybe they're willing to pay, maybe they're not. Maybe they really just want to do it themselves, but they might eventually be in the market if they own Infusionsoft to hire a company to actually do that kind of service. Maybe compare Infusionsoft to HubSpot. Maybe somebody's Googling that because they want to know the difference. They want to know which one they should go with, which might be a better fit for them overall. And that's a little bit more of a, not necessarily a buying decision search term, although maybe it could be. I'm not really selling the software. I'm sort of the guy that does the service to go along with it. So I don't really know if they're into the service, but I know they're in the wheelhouse. I know they're using software that I'm rather familiar with, that we're often hired to work with. So that might be a term that's a little bit more indirect, something along the lines of how to create profitable autoresponder sequences. Maybe something along the lines of how to test my email marketing. Maybe something along the lines of case studies of e-commerce email marketing. Maybe someone's looking up those kind of terms. Now, none of these explicitly scream, I am looking to potentially, in the very, very near future here, hire someone for the service of setting up email marketing and marketing automation, or copywriting, which is essentially what we do at CLV Boost. But these are folks who are in the wheelhouse. They're using the related tools, they're thinking about the related topics, and they're taking seriously some considerations that may very well lead down these conversations. And this is by no means a complete list. When I determine my terms for my offerings, ultimately what I'd really want to do here is I'd want to determine all the major constituents thereof. So ultimately what it is that we offer at CLV Boost is email marketing, marketing automation, and then copywriting. So landing page copywriting consultants. That would be another term that would really nail it. All right. Sometimes people are looking for specific software help. So if I wanted to do this in a completely in as complete a fashion as I could, ultimately what I would do is as follows. I would find my major categories of direct PPC terms, really the terms that hit the nail on the head in terms of folks looking for my service, which would likely be permutations of the actual services I offer, which would be email marketing, marketing automation, copywriting, sales pages, landing pages, etc., as well as specific software help, Infusionsoft, HubSpot, Constant Contact, all the various softwares that we help folks with. So I'd have a number of these software related, a number of these email related, a number of these automation related, a number of these copywriting related, that would really be terms that seem to imply folks are really eager to purchase, really eager to get on the phone, find somebody right for them. Then what I would want to do is for each of those major terms, or at least for those categories, for me there would be about 4 in terms of major service categories, I want to list out another maybe half a dozen or dozen related, interested, but not necessarily down to buy search terms, top of the funnel search terms. So it might be something like, how do I optimize my landing page? Maximizing leads from a landing page. Search terms like that might be related to copywriting, might be related to email marketing, and might be worth creating a list of. So ideally I'd want to create my major categories of pay-per-click, really direct to buy terms, terms that if someone typed them into Google, they are looking for you. and then I'd want to create each one of those categories, and then I want another half dozen or dozen terms. Right now I've only got 6 here, half a dozen total. Ideally I'd want a lot more than that. Half a dozen terms per category that would be of indirect interest, ones that seem likely given the problems and the desires of my market, of the folks who'd be looking for me, but don't necessarily imply they directly want to buy. The reason I'm doing this is because these are terms that A, are less competitive in terms of pay-per-click, but more importantly, they're probably not worth pay-per-click advertising. They're worth writing and creating content about for lead generation. Someone who lands on a blog post or a great article, a good video tutorial on my website at CLV Boost for how to test my email marketing, I might give them the various methodologies that we use to test our autoresponders, how to test the effectiveness of broadcast messages in terms of e-commerce or in terms of sales and appointments for companies that sell via the phone or in person. We work with a lot of those folks as well. I might give them a whole bunch of interesting metrics and methodologies that they can use and simple procedures they can use for themselves in order to really help boost their results. And then I might have some kind of a free 3-video mini course or some kind of a 12-page report on a little bit more detailed information about testing email marketing. Now, if you are on my page just to learn about testing email marketing, the odds are that's not going to be the day you buy. But if you're into that sort of thing, you may very well opt in. And so these indirect terms are great for search engine bait. They're great to provide value to my market, even the folks that aren't looking to buy, but they're also often the best place to put a white paper or somewhere or some kind of content that someone could go ahead and download. If you go to I'll even write it up here. What do you know? blog.hubspot.com. You go to blog.hubspot.com. I'm putting it here because I respect their work a lot. These folks are in Boston like myself. They recently went public, and they do a great job of generating leads from what they would call top-of-the-funnel type content, really not directly related to their software offering, things like Facebook advertising or Twitter virality and nutty topics like that. But they use those leads, basic WordPress functionality. They use folks that opt in for those kind of topics to eventually educate them and bring them into the HubSpot software suite in order to pay the illustrious sums of money that HubSpot charges for their software, which I just think is great. So, okay, so we've determined our indirect terms, all right, and we've related those terms as subsets or spun off terminology from the kinds of terms that people who are really interested in buying would want to type into Google. Now, once we've done that, we want to create a lot of blog topics, which we've started to work on here, and opt-in resources for these terms. Now, the way I normally boil this down is as follows. If I've created 4 quadrants of major terms that folks would use in order to find me directly and really just buy what I got, all right? If I've created 4 quadrants, those are badly drawn boxes, but I'll have you bear with me, okay? If I have these 4 quadrants, I'm generally going to want to expand on these exact 4 quadrants when I come up with the terms for my indirect keywords. So when I create these, they're essentially still built off of the core tenets of what my real business services are. I'm not just writing anything that anyone in my market might ever type into Google and just hope that I attract the right people. I'm pulling up and I'm creating content that's going to be related to the real search terms that ultimately are the money bakers, that imply intent around eventually engaging a firm like mine. All right, so I spin off those ideas when I create my blog content, my indirect term blog content. When I create my opt-in topics, okay, when I create what my white papers or my webinars or my my white papers, my webinars, potentially my free video courses, whatever I use to solicit email addresses, okay, when I'm creating that content, I generally don't want it to be outside the box of what it is that I offer. I don't want to create a white paper until I'm really saturated with leads in my core market, which, for the most part, and most of you listening in, that is not the case yet. You haven't dominated your entire target market. Until that happens, I don't want to create white papers about, for me, clvboost.com. I would not want to create a white paper about how to do Facebook marketing. Number one, it's not my most explicit area of expertise. Of course, I could hire the many experts I've worked with in that area to create a white paper of that kind. But really, by golly, somebody that opts in for a white paper about Facebook advertising, most likely, although they might be in the market to hire a marketing agency, I really should be looking to solicit their email address for a service that I can actually fulfill on. Otherwise, I'm sort of having them opt in for something and then hoping to follow up with them for something. It's possible to branch off of the beaten path, but in general, the topics or the white papers, the webinars, the video courses, whatever I'm using for my free opt-ins, for my enter your email here to receive, whatever I'm using for those offers, I'd really like them to be tied to, by golly, what it is that I offer. So I want to take, potentially, if we're going to go with this simple methodology, I want to take all of my, let's say, indirect keywords. If we take all the indirect keywords related to email marketing. So the direct keywords are here, my indirect keywords are here. Generally, under those indirect keywords, I want to have one or maybe more white papers about that topic, email marketing, because that's what people are interested in when they land on that page. So let's think of one potential white paper or webinar topic that I could use for email marketing. An easy one here might be something along the lines of white paper on double your profits from autoresponders. So a lot of people have marketing automation sequences in place. They've never tested them. They've never tweaked them. And there's a lot of profit hidden in what's actually working, what's not, in terms of subject lines, in terms of body copy, calls to action, product market fit, all the various ways that we at CLV Boost can help to optimize an actual email autoresponder. We could teach in a very effective and very informative white paper that folks might really glean something from. Let's look at software selection. So we have Infusionsoft. We might do something like this. We might do another white paper on the email marketing software buyer's guide. And then fill in the blank with whatever the current year is, okay? For all I know, you're listening to this in 2020. But yeah, fill in the blank with whatever the year is. Make sure it's nice and updated. We have a good understanding of the software. And then I'd go into all the various and sundry softwares that I'm familiar with or that we've worked with, look at the various reviews, the various functionality, and really help people make a good choice in this second quadrant, being software selection, around what might be the best software for them. And then of course in that white paper as well might be a way to get in touch with a firm like ours to help them make that decision and then help really use that software, whichever one it is that they select. Next up, let's look at marketing automation agency. So somebody who really wants to understand marketing automation at a deeper level, maybe I would put together a webinar in this case. And this webinar would be on action-based email for e-commerce. So in this case, I might do an entire webinar around how you can use the actions that someone does inside of an email, whether that be their clicking activity. Some software could even track opens at different levels, but let's just say it involves their clicks or their survey results or whatever the case may be, how to take those actions and drive them towards the most appropriate offers in order to sell the most product in an e-commerce environment. I might be able to do the same exact thing for a consultative type business that's looking to use action-based email for booking sales appointments, but let's just say for this example, we're using action-based email for e-commerce. That would be more marketing automation. That would be more in-depth marketing automation involving not only the autoresponder sequences, but the if-then scenarios that we use inside of those sequences to really optimize profits and really dial in on the folks who are most interested in buying, presenting them with the right offers. So that might be a way that we could squeeze somebody, quote unquote, for their email address when they're on our blogs about this quadrant. Okay. Next up, we'll look at landing pages and copywriting. Shucks, there's a lot of great examples here, but maybe I do a video series, landing page, 4 great landing page case studies. spilling over onto my boxes over here. 4 video series on 4 great landing page case studies. So maybe I have a short series of 4 different videos about how we've tested and improved 4 different landing pages in our work here at CLV Boost. We could take some client success stories and show how we've helped other people be more successful. That might help new prospects to see the value in our work. I might even take some of the sales pages or opt-in pages that I've used in my own business, e-commerce, service-based. I run a lot of different companies. I could take some of my own fun examples that others could really learn from and take those best lessons and distill them into a video series, and then let folks enter their name and email in order to get that video series as a free bonus at the bottom of any of the blog posts related to this quadrant, copywriting. So now that we have some opt-in widgets, what we might call some people refer to them as opt-in bribes, but if we have additional opt-in required content, which normally and formally this is our white papers, our webinars, our video series, our special reports, whatever requires an opt-in, once I have these determined, generally speaking, now I have 2 major benefits. First, I'm going to use a different color just to keep up my good theme here. What do we got? I'll go with pink. All right, so the 2 major benefits that we have here are I can do more tailored autoresponders. Benefit number 2 being I can have more segmented database marketing. Now think about it this way. If somebody lands on my website because they typed in a somewhat unrelated term to hiring someone for copywriting, such as, we look at an example that makes a good amount of sense. We might say, how to, they type in something like how to optimize my landing page for email conversion, something like that, okay? Which would be a sort of non-buyer, more indirect, top-of-funnel term in this quadrant, in which case they'd be kind of hanging out here. I get them to opt in for our 4 great landing page case studies that teach them some good lessons about that. I can also have this series bring them in on an autoresponder sequence tailored to what they're interested in. So understand this. Let's say, per example, we have these little lines that are going to represent, these are going to represent autoresponder sequences, okay? And then we have others that are more colored and flavorful here. Let's see if I can duplicate some of these guys. So we'll get a few of these, all right? If you, hypothetically, if you opt in on clvboost.com and you get a general email sequence about all the services that we do, you may very well be interested in doing business with us. However, so let's say that's our black line. That's just sort of gray, sort of run-of-the-mill, general email sequence about the general products and services that we have. Maybe let's say there's 12 emails in that sequence, okay? 12 emails. Now, let's say you come to my site looking specifically for copywriting basics for increasing your email opt-ins on your web page, okay? That's the topic you come to our site for. In which case, wouldn't it be all the better if the first 12 emails you received after you opted in for this widget, our video series on the 4 great landing page case studies, shouldn't your first 12 messages or so, I'm using 12 as an arbitrary number, shouldn't your first 12 messages relate to what it is that you're interested in? Because by golly, I'm more likely to have you want to hire a firm like ours if I give you information explicitly based around the problems that you have and the goals that you're pursuing, which in this case, all I really know is that you came to me explicitly for and gave me your email for copywriting related content. And so I'll give you fantastic content over the course of a few weeks before I ask you maybe to become a client or customer in some way, shape, or form. And in this case, you're much more likely to be able to become a customer. So that's a very explicit sales benefit of connecting the dots from the quadrant of direct term to the quadrant of indirect term, which is giving us good blog content, soliciting a segmented opt-in based on the same category of term. Now that's producing dollars. That's a good result. However, we also want to talk about how this same kind of segmentation, this same sort of SEO built for email can help our email bolster our SEO. Here's exactly how that can happen. Now that I know you're interested in copywriting, guess what kind of blog posts I'm going to include in my copywriting autoresponder sequence that I put behind my copywriting opt-in solicitor here. In this case, a video series. It could be a white paper, whatever. Guess what kind of blogs you're going to see in the autoresponder that you download after you get this? Of course, I'm going to give you blog content in that autoresponder related to copywriting. I'm going to give you great video content, great articles, interesting case studies, and maybe even success stories of my own clients. Now, if I send you to those blogs, are you more or less likely to visit them when you see the link in your email? Presumably, you're more interested because you came in for copywriting in the first place. If I tell you to go visit that page, that's another page view on that particular blog post, but maybe I also ask you to go like that kind of content on Facebook in my autoresponder, or maybe I encourage you to leave a comment on a very popular copywriting blog that is on my, or article that's on my blog in the first place. And maybe that promotes additional engagement. So maybe for every 100 people that come into my copywriting funnel, I can get a certain percent of them to comment on my various blogs along the way before we start asking them explicitly to become a customer, or giving them an opportunity to become a customer by filling out an appointment form or something like that. In this way, I now have an automated sequence that not only brings them closer to being a customer, but encourages them to engage and boost my SEO in terms of articles related to what they care about. In this case, the lead, my prospect, certainly wins. They're getting content from me about what it is that they care about. And by golly, isn't that what a good marketer does? At the same time, I'm going to be more likely to make the sale. I'm reaping SEO benefits, I'm reaping sales benefits, and the customer's getting more of what they wanted. This is a true virtuous cycle in this respect. Now, of course, I'm simplifying this model. I'm giving you a very simplified and swift way of determining your keywords and creating your content, creating your autoresponders. But the fact of the matter is, most companies out there, e-commerce or not, are not doing a third or maybe even a fourth or fifth of the strategy that I'm articulating here. They're writing articles in a rather willy-nilly way. They're creating ebooks in a rather willy-nilly way, and they're creating autoresponders in a rather willy-nilly way that is not helping to boost their SEO and their email marketing. So now you can see how autoresponders related to particular topics that we've asked folks to opt in for can not only help boost our sales, but boost our SEO results. In addition to that, I can now use my database marketing to help boost my SEO as well. Let's say, months and months go by and I've acquired 200 leads, or let's say 2,000. I'm pretty big with the traffic there, so let's say I'm moving some weight over the course of the next X number of months, and I get 2,000 folks to opt in for my various webinars and video series about my copywriting related content. In this case, my landing page case studies. I have 2,000 folks on my list who came in for that. Well, guess what? In my CRM system, if I'm using Infusionsoft or any of the major competitors that actually have some segmentation capacity, I know who in my database is interested in copywriting. And if I want to solicit them to go comment on my post or go share it or go, fire it off on Twitter and share it with other folks there as well, the first people I'm going to send my new copywriting blog post to is who? The people on my email list interested in copywriting. How do I know who they are? Well, they found me for copywriting terms. They opted in for a copywriting white paper. So if I want to fire off a small email that gets my highest percentage of engagement on social and on my blog, I'm going to send it to the segment that's most interested. And guess what? That additional engagement on social, those additional comments and shares of my new blog post related just to the goals of the people on my list who I sent it to, in this case just 2,000, that's more likely to, again, boost that engagement, boost that blog post, and feed into my SEO results as well. This is how segmentation becomes not just about closing and converting to sale, but also bolstering my SEO, bolstering my organic presence online. I sincerely hope that this short CLV Boost tutorial was useful for any of you out there right now tuned in. If you have additional questions for me here at CLV Boost, you can reach me directly at dan@clvboost.com. Otherwise, I sincerely hope that this training video was useful for all of you, and I look forward to catching you next time.